For over 3,000 years, one single plant has been used to calm the mind, heal the lungs, balance blood sugar, fight infection, protect the heart, and it's still sitting in plain sight, completely underused by Western medicine. And the way many people use this herb, even people who know about it, could be completely wrong for their body type. Now, by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly how to use it for your specific constitution. Stay with me because I'm also going to reveal one ancient use of this plant that modern science has now validated, and it might be the most important thing you hear all week. This is holy basil, known in Sanskrit as Tulsi, meaning the incomparable one. Botanically, it's Ocimum sanctum, a member of the mint family, native to the Indian subcontinent. In India, it's not merely a medicine, it's a deity. It's planted at the entrance of homes. It's worshipped before sunrise. Ayurvedic texts describe it as the physical manifestation of Lakshmi, the goddess of abundance and well-being. But this isn't a spirituality video, it's an herbalism video. And holy basil earns every ounce of reverence, not through myth, but through phytochemistry, clinical trials, and thousands of years of documented therapeutic use. Let's start where all true herbal medicine begins, the energetics. In traditional herbal medicine, whether we're talking Ayurveda, traditional Chinese medicine, or Western eclectic herbalism, every plant has a set of qualities we call energetics. These are the fundamental properties that tell us how the herb acts in the body, long before we know why it acts that way chemically. Holy basil's primary tastes are pungent and bitter, with a secondary sweetness and an astringent finish. Taste isn't just flavor. In energetic systems, it's information. Pungency means the herb moves, it disperses, it penetrates, it warms the interior and drives things outward. Bitterness means it drains downward, clears heat and toxins, and tones the tissues. This is why you instinctively want holy basil when you feel congested, sluggish, or mentally foggy. The herb's energetic signature is the opposite of those states. Thermally, holy basil is warming, not aggressively hot like cayenne, but persistently, gently warming. It heats the lungs to expel cold mucus. It warms the digestive fire. It kindles the nervous system out of cold stagnation and depression. Its moisture quality is drying. It reduces excess dampness in the body. Think chronic congestion, wet coughs, sluggish lymphatics, brain fog associated with phlegm in Ayurvedic terms. In Ayurveda specifically, holy basil reduces Vata, the cold, anxious, erratic principle, and reduces Kapha, the heavy, damp, stagnant principle. It can, however, slightly increase Pitta, the fire principle, which is crucial information. This means people who run hot, have inflammatory conditions, acid reflux, or intense anger should use it more carefully, short-term rather than long-term, or blended with cooling herbs. Now remember, I mentioned one ancient use that science has just validated. I'll get there, but first, I need to show you the tissue systems this herb targets, because once you understand this, the rest of the video will click into place in a way that you won't forget. Holy basil's most celebrated modern identity is as an adaptogen, a class of herbs that help the body resist, recover from, and adapt to stress. But unlike pharmaceutical anxiolytics that simply suppress your stress response, adaptogens like Tulsi work by modulating the HPA axis, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, the very system that governs how your body responds to threat. Multiple human clinical trials now confirm what Ayurvedic physicians observed for millennia. Regular Tulsi supplementation significantly reduces cortisol levels, improves mood, lowers anxiety scores, and sharpens cognitive function, specifically memory, attention, and processing speed. A landmark study published in the Journal of Ayurveda and Integrative Medicine found that participants taking holy basil extract for 6 weeks experienced measurably reduced stress, forgetfulness, and exhaustion compared to placebo. That's not anecdote. That's a randomized controlled trial. Now, energetically, this makes perfect sense. Vata, the constitution most prone to anxiety, scattered thinking, and nervous overwhelm, is exactly what holy basil's warm, grounding, pungent energy addresses. The herb essentially tells the nervous system, you're safe, you can stand down. If there's one organ system that holy basil has the deepest traditional relationship with, it's the lungs. Tulsi is classified in Ayurveda as a Kasa Shivasa Hara, a destroyer of coughs and breathlessness. In TCM adjacent frameworks, it's used to release the exterior, meaning it pushes pathogenic cold outward through sweat and breath. Its mechanism here is multifaceted. The volatile essential oils, especially eugenol, camphor, and rosmarinic acid, are naturally antimicrobial and expectorant. They thin and mobilize mucus, making it easier to clear. They reduce bronchial inflammation, and they have demonstrated antiviral activity against multiple respiratory pathogens in laboratory settings. Holy basil is also a gentle diaphoretic. It promotes perspiration, which is your body's ancient technology for fever management. Rather than suppressing a fever the way ibuprofen does, it supports the fever's job, killing pathogens and clearing toxins. This is a fundamental distinction between energetic herbalism and conventional symptom suppression. As an immune modulator, Tulsi increases the activity of natural killer cells and T helper cells, the frontline soldiers of your adaptive immune response. It doesn't just stimulate immunity, it regulates it, which is why it can be useful in both infections and autoimmune presentations. Now we're halfway through and we haven't even touched the cardiovascular system, blood sugar regulation, or the skin. And I still owe you that validated ancient secret. Keep watching, it's gonna come soon, and it genuinely surprised me when I found the research. Holy basil's effects on metabolic health are among its most rigorously studied properties in contemporary research, and the results are striking. Multiple randomized trials have demonstrated that Tulsi leaf extract significantly lowers fasting blood glucose, post-meal blood glucose, and HbA1c levels in people with type 2 diabetes. The proposed mechanisms include slowing carbohydrate absorption in the gut, improving insulin receptor sensitivity, and protecting pancreatic beta cells from oxidative damage. For the herbalist, this is deeply satisfying because it maps perfectly to the energetics. Kapha excess in Ayurveda is associated with weight gain, sluggish metabolism, and insulin resistance. Holy basil's kapha-reducing action is literally described as burning up ama, the toxic metabolic residue that accumulates when digestion is weak. Modern science describes the same phenomena using the language of glucose dysregulation and oxidative stress. On the cardiovascular side, research shows holy basil reduces LDL cholesterol and triglycerides while mildly increasing HDL. Its antiplatelet and mild anticoagulant properties suggest potential value in cardiovascular prevention. This also means caution is warranted if you're on blood-thinning medications. Always discuss this with your healthcare provider before combining. The antioxidant load in holy basil is extraordinary, particularly in the fresh leaf. Flavonoids like orientin and vicinin have been shown to protect cellular DNA from radiation-induced damage in several studies. That's not a metaphor. Actual radiation protection. All right, here it is. The ancient use that modern science just confirmed. For thousands of years, Ayurvedic texts described Tulsi as a medhya rasana, a rejuvenator of the intellect and memory. Ancient physicians prescribed it to scholars, students, and monks who needed sustained mental clarity. They believed it literally fed and protected the brain tissue, what they called mahadhatu. Now here's what science found. Holy basil contains compounds, particularly ursolic acid and rosmarinic acid, that inhibit acetylcholinesterase, the enzyme that breaks down acetylcholine, your brain's primary neurotransmitter for memory formation and learning. This is the exact same mechanism targeted by the most widely prescribed class of Alzheimer's drugs, cholinesterase inhibitors, like donepezil. We are talking about a plant that ancient physicians used to protect cognitive function that works, at least in part, through the same pathway as pharmaceutical dementia treatment, identified through clinical pharmacology thousands of years later. That's not mysticism. That's empirical observation defined over hundreds of generations into something that modern biochemistry is only now beginning to explain. Here's where energetics become practical. If you run cold, damp, and heavy, classic Kapha or Vata Kapha types, you can use holy basil freely and long-term. Fresh Tulsi tea daily, dried herb capsules, or tincture. It will warm your digestion, lift your mood, clear your respiratory system, and sharpen your mind. This is your herb. If you run hot, sharp, and inflamed, classic Pitta, use Tulsi strategically. It's excellent during colds, infections, or periods of mental fatigue. Short-term use, where its antimicrobial and adaptogenic power is needed, but long-term daily use can aggravate Pitta
Balance it by blending with cooling herbs like peppermint or rose, or by using it as a tea rather than a concentrated extract. For the tea, steep 1 to 2 teaspoons of dried holy basil in hot water for 8 to 10 minutes, covered. The volatile oils are medicinal, so don't let them escape into the air. And drink up to 3 cups daily. For the tincture, use 2 to 4 milliliters 2 to 3 times daily in a little warm water. For capsules, standardized extracts, typically dosed at 3 to 600 milligrams twice daily. Look for products standardized to ursolic acid or eugenol content. For the fresh herb, heat 4 to 6 leaves in the morning on an empty stomach. This is the traditional Ayurvedic practice, and it delivers the full spectrum of volatile oils intact. Here's some caution. Because of its blood sugar lowering and mild blood thinning effects, use caution with diabetes medication and anticoagulants. It may slow implantation of a fertilized egg, so avoid high therapeutic doses if you're trying to conceive. And as always, it's not a replacement for professional medical care. It's a powerful ally. Know how to use your allies. Holy basil is warming, drying, pungent, and bitter. It works on the nervous system to calm and focus, on the lungs to open and clear, on the metabolism to regulate and protect, on the cardiovascular system to clean and fortify, on the brain to preserve and sharpen. It does all of this because nature doesn't separate the body into organ systems. It speaks to the whole person, the same way Tulsi's energetics describe a whole pattern of action rather than a single target. The ancient physicians who called this plant incomparable weren't being poetic. They were being precise. If you'd like to learn much more about this marvelous plant, subscribe to the Ultimate Herbal Database and dig in. And if this video helped you see herbs differently, not as supplements to buy, but as living, energetically coherent allies to understand, then hit subscribe and the like button, because every week we go this deep on the plants your body is already calling for. And drop in the comments, are you Vata, Pitta, or Kapha? Or do you have no idea and want me to make a video on that? I read every single comment. The next video is going to break down another herb that many people misuse completely. I'll see you there.